public comment to this committee regarding an agenda item before us? All right, seeing no one, so we're going to move ahead to a proposed consent agenda. There's a number of items that we're going to have off of consent for discussion. Let's see. So I've got all of our resolutions before us on our proposed consent calendar. I've also got item 13, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, on a proposed consent calendar. Having heard just the agenda item numbers, is there anything anybody wants to pull off? Councilmember Coupin. Oh, apologies.
Did you say number 15 is on or off?
$15 is not on consent.
Perfect, thank you.
Anything else just from hearing the committee? No. Okay. So I'm going to read the captions of all the proposed consent agenda items, and if anything needs to come off at that point, then we can do so. So we'll begin with committee item 1. This is resolution RS 2025-1427 by Gamble and Parker. This is a resolution approving an option agreement between the Metropolitan Government in Nashville and Davidson County and Lynn M. Rocco, John W. Murphy III, and Janice K. Murphy, authorizing the purchase of certain property located at 0 Highway 70 South. Committee item 2, this is RS 2025-1446 by Porterfield, Gamble, and others. This is a resolution approving Amendment 1 to an intergovernmental agreement by and between the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation and the Metropolitan Government in Nashville and Davidson County, by and through the Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure for traffic signal communication upgrades along Broadway and West End from 1st Avenue to I-440. State project, we don't need that part. Committee item 3, this is resolution RS 2025-1448 by Porterfield, Gamble, and others. This is a resolution supporting a proposed landscaping project by the Metropolitan Department of Water and Sewerage Services in cooperation with the Tennessee Department of Transportation at the interchange of Tennessee State Highway 155 and County Hospital Road. Next, we have committee item 4. This is RS 2025-1449 by Porterfield, Gamble, and others. This is a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Property or his designee to exercise option agreements for the purchase of 3 flood-prone properties located at 5340 Buena Vista Pike, 218 Blackman Road, and 517 Paragon Mills Road for Metro Water Services. Committee item 5, this is RS 2025-1450-1450 by Bradford, Gamble, and Parker. This is a resolution to amend ordinance number BL 2025-859 to authorize the Metropolitan Government in Nashville and Davidson County to add the abandonment and acceptance of water mains and modify the acceptance of water main and easements for 2 properties located at 1300 and 1310 Donaldson Pike, also known as Donaldson Pike Industrial West. Committee item 6, this is RS 2025-1451-1451 by Lee, Gamble, and Parker. This is a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government in Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public sanitary sewer manhole for property located at 1550 Winding Creek Drive, also known as Tennessee Nature Academy. Committee item 7, this is RS 2025-1452-1452 by Gamble and Parker. This is a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government in Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public sanitary sewer main and sanitary sewer manholes and to accept new public sanitary sewer mains and sanitary sewer manholes for 4 properties located on Belshire Drive and Dickerson Pike, off-site of the project location at 3539 Dickerson Pike, also known as Artist Lofts Off-site. Committee item 8, this is RS 2025-1453, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public sanitary sewer main and to accept new public sanitary sewer mains for 2 properties located at 310 Peabody Street and 523 3rd Avenue South, off-site of the project location at 712 4th Avenue South, also known as 4th and Elm Off-site Sewer Improvements, and that is sponsored by Coupin, Gamble, and Parker. Committee item 9, this is RS 2025-1454-1454 by Gamble and Parker, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public sanitary sewer main, sanitary sewer force main, and sanitary sewer manholes for property located at Bluff Road Unnumbered in Williamson County, also known as Walnut Hills Phase 2. Committee item 10, this is RS 2025-1455 by Welsh, Gamble, and Parker. This is a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government in Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public water mains and to accept public water main and fire hydrant assembly for property located at 194 Chilton Street, also known as Chilton Street Water Main Improvement. Committee item 11, this is RS 2025-1456 by Cortez, Gamble, and Parker. This is a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government in Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water main and fire hydrant assembly for property located at Nolensville Pike Unnumbered, also known as Nolensville Road, Wah. Committee item 12, this is RS 2025-1457 by Gamble, Parker, and Benton, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon an existing public fire hydrant assembly and to accept a new public fire hydrant assembly for two properties located at 490 and 520 Metroplex Drive, also known as Aventura Community School. And bills on second reading. I believe we had item 13 on consent. Item 13 is BL 2025-954 by Coupin, Allen, Rutherford, and Stiles, an ordinance amending Title VI of the Metropolitan Code to amend the definition of entertainment transportation vehicles and to regulate the operation of seated sightseeing vehicles. 14 not on consent, 15 not consent, item 16 not consent. Item 17, BL 2025-960 by Coupin, Gamble, and Parker. This is an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon a portion of an existing utility easement for property located at 0 Victory Avenue and 501 South 1st Street. Committee item 18, this is BL 2025-961 by Lee, Gamble, and Parker. This is an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water, sanitary sewer, and forced sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for the three properties located at Old Hickory Boulevard Unnumbered, also known as Evergreen Hills Phase 4A. Committee item 19, this is BL 2025-962 by Lee, Gamble, and Parker, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government in Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for three properties located at Old Hickory Boulevard Unnumbered, also known as Evergreen Hills Phase 4B. Committee item 20, this is BL 2025-963 by Cortez, Gamble, and Parker, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government in Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for two properties located at 6415 and 6419 Holt Road, also known as Williams Mill. Committee item 21, this is BL 2025-964 by Bradford, Gamble, and Parker. This is an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government in Nashville and Davidson County to accept new sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, the vertical relocation of a sanitary sewer manhole, and easements for property located at 1300 Donaldson Pike, also known as the Runway Logistics 1 Revision 1. Committee item 22, this is BL 2025-965 by Benton, Gamble, and others. This is an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government in Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for two properties located at 208 Franklin Limestone Road and 2111 Murfreesboro Pike, also known as Franklin Limestone Townhomes. Next, we have committee item 23, BL 2025-966 by Harrell, Gamble, and Parker. This is an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 5932 Mount View Road. Next, we have committee item 24. This is BL 2025-967 by Coupin, Gamble, and Parker, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements, and to accept new water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located between Fogg Street and Allison Street on 7th Avenue South, also known as Paseo South Gulch Phase 2 at 700 8th Avenue North, South, 8th Avenue South. Next, we have committee item 25. This is BL 2025-968 by Huffman, Gamble, and Parker, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, the relocation of a fire hydrant assembly, and easements for property located at Tyler Drive Unnumbered, also known as Hermitage Row. Next, we have committee item 26. This is BL 2025-969 by Toombs, Gamble, and Parker. This is an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements, and to accept new public sanitary sewer main and sanitary sewer manholes for property located at 400 Haney Avenue. Next, we have committee item 27. This is BL 2025-970, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, and easements for two properties located at 1121 and 1125 Airport Center Drive, also known as Runway Motel. Next, we have committee item 28. This is BL 2025-971 by Gamble and Parker, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public sanitary sewer main, sanitary sewer manhole, and easements for two properties located at West Division Street, unnumbered, in Mount Juliet, Wilson County, also known as Cane Break Subdivision Phase 4. Next is committee item 29 by Toombs, Gamble, and Parker. This is an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements, and to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 1520 Hampton Street, also known as 1520 Hampton Street, SP. Next, we have committee item 30. This is BL 2025-973 by Parker and Gamble. This is an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public sanitary sewer main, public fire hydrant assembly, and easements, and to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for 6 properties located on Walton Lane, also known as Walton Station. Next, we have committee item 31. This is BL 2025-974 by Hancock, Campbell, and Parker, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for 2 properties located at Shannon Avenue, unnumbered, also known as Madison Heights. Committee item 32. This is BL 2025-975 by Coop and Gamble and Parker. This is an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public water main, fire hydrant assembly, and easements, and to accept new public water main, fire hydrant assemblies, and easements for 2 properties located at 1 Titans Way and 100 Woodland Street, also known as South 2nd Street Development. All right, having heard the caption, are there any items that need to come off? I see Councilmember Coop, we'll go back to you.
Thank you, Chair. Item 13, please.
All right, item 13 has been removed from the consent calendar. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 2, RS 2025-1446.
Item 2 has been removed from the consent calendar. Anything else for questions, comments, discussion, clarification, anything of that nature? All right, if we could get a motion on the proposed consent calendar, please. All right, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the proposed consent agenda? All right, seeing none. If you're in favor of the proposed consent agenda, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, thank you. Recommend approval of the consent agenda. We have all 12, wow. 12 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. So we'll return to committee item 2. This is RS 2025-1446, an intergovernmental agreement regarding signalization on West End, along Broadway and West End. We've already read the full caption. Can I go to Councilmember? Can we get a motion, please?
Move approval.
Properly moved and seconded. I'll go to Councilmember Allen for any questions or
Thank you,
comments on
Mr.
this.
Chair. My understanding is that this is an amendment to an existing contract that changes the end date from the end of 2025 to the end of 2027. So 2 more years to fix the lights on West End. And I was really excited about having them fixed this year. And so I would just love to know what's going to happen in those other 2 years and if we can make some progress this year.
All right, I see a representative from NDOT is joining us at the podium. If you'd please introduce yourself, and if you need us to repeat the question, we can.
Thank you. Matt Purvis, I'm the council liaison for the Department of Transportation. This is about the TDOT agreement for the lights on West End and Broadway. The reason for the delay and some of the partners we were working with, basically the way that we were trying to get the contractors was through existing state partnerships. And there were delays outside of our control to get those contractors on board to begin the work. We ended up having to change the date that it would be finished, but that did not change the pace of the project. It just affected when we would be able to start. So the start date has changed, which has shifted the end date, but it'll be the same pace that we've been advertising. That makes sense.
Back to you,
Ask more
Councilmember.
questions. And so when is the start date now?
That I'm not 100. I'll get you a date definite. I don't have it on me right now, but
Okay.
I'll get with you later.
Like, is it this year? Would be great.
I'll clarify.
Thank you. And then the final question is, as part of Choose How You Move, signalization improvement is a big part of that, and this is one of the major streets. Does this work in tandem with that, or can some of that stuff begin now? I've got some great suggestions I'd love to get
So
happening soon.
it does, the level of upgrades that Choose How You Move involves is multi-tiered. The basis of that is fiber communications. And that's what this project is to do the fiber communications.
Install
So-
them.
Yeah, correct. So with this project, it's a jumping, launching pad for the rest of the improvements.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any further questions on item 2, RS 2025-1446? All right, seeing none, so we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of Resolution 1446, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, recommend approval 11 in favor, 0 against. All right, next we'll go to committee item 13. This is BL 2025-954. I believe we've already read the caption on this. This is related to entertainment transportation vehicles and seated sightseeing vehicles. Lead sponsor is Councilmember Coopin, who's present and requested it to be removed from consent. So we'll go to you, Councilmember Coopin.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move for a deferral with a brief comment. 1 meeting deferral.
Can we get a second? All right.
Thanks. We've been working really, really hard on this bill. I've been trying to clean this up since actually I took office and finally made some headway. What this bill is doing is currently the TLC regulates party buses and sightseeing vehicles separately, but in the same code chapter. This would move sightseeing vehicles to its own code chapter, allowing us to consider them differently given their different purposes. There's some additional requirements in this bill, such as indicating at points of sale and on your website that you don't serve alcohol. That's one of the issues that we run into is sightseeing vehicle permits serving alcohol. This also includes a 4 to 6 p.m. rush hour permit. Right now, 4 to 6 travel is not permitted in certain areas for these vehicles. This would allow them to operate with a traffic study that shows they can go the speed of traffic, and they are to go the speed of traffic. There's a couple other changes in it. We got a lot of feedback from departments and stakeholders towards the end of last week. So we've got a substitute that's being worked on that should be done the next couple of days. So I'd request a 1 meeting deferral just to finalize it. We're going to present it to the Transportation Licensing Commission on Thursday, and then hopefully bring it back for a vote for a second reading in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Councilmember. And yeah, I appreciate your work on this. I've been keeping up with this discussion at the TLC, and I know it's a complicated matter. So appreciate your work on this. Any other comments on a 1 meeting deferral, having heard the sponsor's explanation? All right, let's go to a vote on a recommendation of a 1 meeting deferral. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? I think we have 12. All right, recommend approval of a 1 meeting deferral at the sponsor's request, 12 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting. All right, next we have committee item 14. This is BL 2025-955 by Ellis and Huffman. This is an ordinance to amend section 9.20.020 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws regarding motor vehicle noise within residential zoning districts. Could we get a motion, please? All right, properly moved and seconded, and we've got the lead sponsor and committee member, Councilmember Ellis, present. So we'll go first, Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you. Colleagues, when I introduced this bill, my goal was clear. It was to reduce the excessive vehicle noise in our neighborhoods by setting fair, enforceable standards. And that is what I'm hoping to do. I'm asking for your support. The residents in my district and the neighboring districts out in the southeast have asked for peace and quiet in our areas, and that is the purpose of my bill, and I hope that you will support it as it is.
All right. I see Councilmember Evans Siegel, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Just a technical question. I'm curious, it says that motor vehicles have to operate with a muffler, but do electric vehicles have mufflers?
I don't believe they do.
So I guess my question to legal then is, would electric vehicles be prohibited from driving on the road under this as written?
Director Darby, do you want to field that one? I will turn your mic on.
I would need to do just a little bit of research into what the current legislation says versus what this legislation proposes.
Would the sponsor be okay with a 1 meeting deferral so we can figure that out and make sure that we're not like prohibiting whole classes of?
So the legislation does read motor vehicle. It does not read like combustion engine vehicle.
And bikes, or aren't there like other things like golf carts, motor vehicles? I guess I'm a little concerned about, I'm just curious what the scope is.
Can we go to the sponsor for, on,
I have my fellow colleague that's obstructed my view, and I can't really hear exactly what she's saying.
so the question was, as the legislation reads, it says it's unlawful for any person to operate any motor vehicle that is not equipped with a muffler in good working order and in constant operation to prevent excessive noise. The concern is that there are certain motor vehicles that don't have internal combustion engines, so they don't have a muffler to be equipped, and there's no place to put a muffler on them. That's also in the current code today. So the muffler requirement is in the current code today per Director Darby. So that might need to be cleaned up as well. And the question, I think, from Councilmember Evan Siegel was, would you be okay with a deferral to address that question and potentially any others that folks have?
That's a two-part question. Could you clarify the question that Councilmember Quinn is asking? Is she saying, are electric vehicles not required to be driven on streets, or this takes them out? I mean, I don't understand her intention, given this is an amendment to the current rule as it's written that includes all motor vehicles.
Yes, but some motor vehicles don't have mufflers and can't have mufflers.
Okay, well, those types of vehicles are above my pay grade, so I'm not aware of that. So the answer would be no. I don't want to defer based on it being an electrical vehicle or not.
Okay.
If some of my other colleagues have other concerns, I would be willing to consider a deferral for that.
Yeah, I think if anybody has any comments, questions, concerns, let's get them on the floor so that they can be contemplated for any potential amendments in the future. But Councilmember Evan Siegel, would you like me to go back to you on the muffler question? You're recognized.
Yes, Chair. I would move to defer one meeting so that we can get this right. I think we don't need to prohibit whole classes, whether or not it's in the code today, from driving on the roads.
I've got a motion and a second, and we're considering is it a one meeting deferral? Yep. Considering a one meeting deferral, Councilmember Allen, who's seeking to be recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we do need to clear this question up. I'm a little concerned about a one meeting deferral because that's an automatic deferral, and one meeting might not be the whatever. It seems to me that you have rightly pointed out that the current code prohibits me from driving in any neighborhood, apparently. So, including, I don't know how I'm going to get home tonight. So we do need to fix this, but it's not an issue of this bill because this bill doesn't change that language. It just changes things about the distance where you can hear the noise from said motor vehicle. So I think we need a separate bill that fixes that would fix this one as well. I'm not sure why we need to hold this one up.
Councilmember Evan Siegel, who made the motion.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I would argue that it is irrelevant what the code says today. If we're changing the code, we shouldn't adopt something that is wrong when just 2 weeks could fix it and fix both of them with one swipe, because otherwise we're recodifying something with knowledge that it prohibits them, which is interpreted differently typically from courts than, say, a longstanding law where technology came along after the law was passed.
Any further comments on the, we'll go back to, I had Councilmember Coopin. Do you want to directly address the exchange here? Councilmember Allen, we'll go to Councilmember Allen first and then to Councilmember
Okay, I will just say this process will speed it up faster than waiting for a new bill. And I need to get this fixed so I can get home. So I will withdraw my opposition to the deferral.
Okay.
Let's fix this quick.
Okay, and Councilmember Coopin, you're in the queue. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. And Councilman Allen, if you need a ride home over the next couple weeks, I'm happy to take you until your car is legally drivable. And I know we had appreciate the sponsor working on this and appreciate the robust discussion on Council Connect. I know Hannah Zeitlin somewhere smiling at our back and forth on there. And I am supportive of the deferral for this new reason, but also to give folks time to review my substitute and then the Council Connect discussion. I think this is a phenomenal bill. It's an incredible bill. Very appreciative of the sponsor bringing it. In fact, I had a constituent, Steve Smith, not that Steve Smith. I have multiple Steve Smiths, by the way. But he emailed Councilman Ellis thanking her profusely for this bill. He said it's something that's been a problem for years for him. He's so excited for the quality of life to improve. Unfortunately, as written, that bill would not apply for Mr. Smith because it is only applicable in RRS. So I'm speaking as to why I'm supportive of the deferral.
So just so everybody's aware, I generally, when we're contemplating a deferral on legislation, I generally ask that folks try to air any potential issues with the legislation during committee discussion so that those can be addressed. So I do allow a degree of leeway there. And so I'll go back to Councilmember Coupin to continue.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. If on the floor, I wouldn't go down this lane, but I wanted to get it on the record for potential deliberation and other examples of what we could explore during a deferral. And so things like the RRS and RM zoning only being applicable, which would prevent potentially SP, DTC, MUL, MUN, et cetera. You'd have a lot of neighborhoods that wouldn't be able to take part in this. You'd be prioritizing single-family homeowners versus renters in apartment buildings. And so I think it's something, I feel that the sponsor, what she's trying to accomplish, what I'm trying to accomplish, what Councilman Evan Siegel's trying to accomplish, we're all kind of trying to do the same thing. And I think a one-meeting deferral gives us time to work on that. So I'd also be in support of the deferral.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any further comments? Lead sponsor, is he going to be recognized? Okay. So we've got a one-meeting deferral before us. I'm not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor of a one-meeting deferral, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? All right. Yes, so we recommend a one-meeting deferral, 11 in favor, 1 against, and 0 not voting. All right, next we have committee item 15. This is BL 2025-956 by Councilmember Ellis. This is an ordinance to amend Chapter 12.40 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws regarding abandoned vehicles and restrictions on street and alley parking. Could we get a motion, please? Could we get a second, please? All right, properly moved and seconded. We've got lead sponsor and committee member, Councilmember Tasha Ellis with us. So we'll go first to Councilmember Ellis.
I'm sorry, I was still baffled by the reason for the deferment. What was the question?
Your bill is up 956.
Yes, what's the question? I move to approve.
Oh, okay. Do we have any discussion on this one? Councilmember Coupin.
Yeah, thank you. I pulled this off consent. I was just getting a couple questions about the purpose of the bill, and there's an amendment on it that then allows loading and unloading permissible by NDOT. So I was just hoping that the Department of Transportation or the sponsor could explain what this bill is intending to do as it is and what the amendment does. I don't think it applies to the questions I'm getting, but I just want to be sure.
Would you like me to have NDOT or Councilmember Ellis back to you?
Yeah, I can answer that. This bill was actually, these changes were brought to me by one of the NDOT inspectors in our area. For those that don't typically go south of the airport unless, you're running for office, we typically have, workers that operate CDL vehicles, so some of the larger box trucks, and also the food trucks as well. And so typically they park those on the street because they can't park them in their yard because that's a violation. And so that's the intention is so when someone complains about, obstruction in the right of way or in their neighborhood, the NDOT compliance person wants to be able to issue a ticket for that vehicle.
Thank you for that explanation.
And I would pass it to NDOT in case they have more to add, because I know that I had talked to a supervisor and the inspector that had came to me, but I'm not sure if they want to add anything.
I see Councilman Matt Purvis back there. If you'd please introduce yourself and address the prompt.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Matt Purvis, Council Liaison for the department. She's correct. She's had conversations with us about this bill in the past. We talk a lot about weight restrictions often over at NDOT. They're very hard to enforce. However, this bill and how it's written specifically with the definitions of box truck, food truck trailer, it makes it a lot easier actually for us to enforce keeping those off residential streets. And obviously they create blind spots and create issues with narrow streets and all that sort of stuff. So the definitions of added to this bill are certainly very helpful for us.
So is it NDOT's interpretation that the weight, it would have to hit the 8,800 pounds as well as be one of those particular categories of vehicle, or is it anything that's 88 and up?
It's anything that's 88 and up. So the amendment is just clearing up a typo, but think of it as a normal size U-Haul truck that you can rent for $19.99 as they advertise. If that size is on a street empty, then that would be in violation. If someone is not present, loading or unloading that vehicle.
I guess that my question is, how did we arrive at the 8,800 number?
I Googled the size of a U-Haul box truck. Anything, I would assume you know what that looks like.
I'm pretty familiar with like gross vehicle weight measurements and whatnot, and I guess my concern about this is that it would capture like F-250s and 2500s from GMC, but it would also capture like the Tesla Cybertruck and the Rivian SUVs with 8,800. So I wonder, with Federal Highway Administration has different classes of gross vehicle weight rating, and there's a threshold at 10,000 where you hit class 3. And I wonder if we might want to consider using class 3 as the threshold for weight. I see Mr. Purvis has.
If I could say, so the other situation where we deal with weight restrictions in the department is for weight restrictions on roads themselves. And the standard that we use for that is actually 8 tons. So, 16,000 pounds. And when you kind of cross-reference that with box trucks, I think an empty 26-footer box truck is about 17,000 pounds. So the combination, at least for us, of like 16,000 pounds or box truck, food truck, kind of gives a little bit more leeway for those smaller box trucks or those food truck trailers that are the issue. 8,800, regardless, weight restrictions aren't super easy for us to enforce. Our enforcement officers don't go around with, we don't have vehicle scales to actually determine that. So for us, the very enforceable part of this bill is the definitions of food truck, food trailer, and box truck. 8,800 pounds, 8 tons. It's more or less arbitrary to our ability to enforce because unless there is a definite amount of like, okay, that's a semi truck, that's definitely very heavy. It's hard for us to really nail that down, if that makes sense.
I guess what I'm concerned about is you could imagine a regulatory environment or an enforcement environment where, we're scanning plates and saying, well, that's a 2025 Rivian SUV, which, we know what the gross vehicle weight rating on that is, and it's in violation, and then that person's getting ticketed. So I'm not thrilled about the idea of including class 2 vehicles in a prohibition from being parked on public streets. I would be more comfortable with 10,000 pounds because that at least pushes us into class 3 from the federal highway perspective. And I feel like that's a little bit more defensible as a policy than kind of picking a number.
It doesn't make a ton of difference to us.
Is that a pun?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, if you want to change it to include cyber vehicles being parked on the street, that's fine.
Okay. I see Councilmember Evan Siegel and then Councilmember Coopin. Councilmember Evan Siegel.
Thank you, Chair. This has been really helpful because that was one sort of route of questions that I had if we're going down the pun road here. But another question I had, as somebody who's spent, over 4 decades hanging out on farms in Davidson County and a lot of time in our rural areas, there are a lot of, and there are fewer today than there have been in the past, but there are a lot of people with CDLs. There are sometimes school bus drivers who are driving those buses home at night. And I'm wondering, when we did, for example, the food truck regulations, we did a lot of outreach with the food truck industry. We know how hard it is to own and operate a food truck here. And if we're saying they can't park in their house because that's illegal, and now we're making it where they can't park in the street, have we done any outreach with that community to see what options they have for parking their vehicles so that we're not putting them out of work?
I'll go to the sponsor because that sounded like a specific question about the legislation.
Yeah,
Councilmember Ellis.
to clarify, I'm saying that they can't park their food truck on the street. They can they can park it in their driveway. That's totally fine. I don't want them parking their food truck on their yard, as that's currently a violation. And I don't want them parking it in the street to where if someone else, two vehicles are trying to come down the road opposite way, but the food truck is parked there, it makes the street not passable.
Thank you for that explanation. Back to Councilmember Evans Siegel.
Yeah, that's super helpful. I mean, obviously, the street should be passable. I think my concern is that it is legal to park in the right-of-way unless marked otherwise in Davidson County. And if they're legally parking in the right-of-way, I mean, all of our public parking spots are in the right-of-way on the side of the road in their neighborhood, and it is not obstructing the street. I'm just worried that if we haven't done outreach with them, and I've seen this in neighborhood meetings across this county where, you know, a lawn person tries to park their trailer in their driveway, and that's not legal because it's got commercial tags on it, and they end up in a fight with their neighbors, and they don't have a place to park that lawn truck, and I've literally seen it put people out of business. And so my concern, as this is written right now, is it doesn't actually leave room for what should probably be legal parking, if I understand the sponsor, and not what she's trying to get at. And so to the extent we're going to look at EVs, I would just also throw out there, I do think we need to look at maintaining legal parking places for folks in the right of way. So we're not putting our CDL drivers out of business. We're not risking bus drivers who drive their bus home at night from being able to do that.
Okay, I'll go back to Councilmember Ellis. You're recognized for a response.
And so just to be clear, the point that the folks on Castlegate have made is that 3 different food trucks are parked on that street right now. And when they report it to Hub Nashville, Quinn, and the NDOT inspector comes out, there's nothing that NDOT person can do, despite, Miss Gloria not being able to go down the opposite side of the street.
Thank you. I'll go because Councilmember Evans Siegel's name was mentioned, and then I'm going to go over to Councilmember Coopin, who was in the queue. So Councilmember Evans Siegel.
Thank you, Chair. I would just encourage colleagues who have parking violation issues, instead of bringing a countywide bill that has consequences in all districts without any sort of public outreach, to bring a matter before Traffic and Parking Commission to restrict the parking in that area specific to that, so that we're solving the problem people are facing directly and in a way that is tailored to that problem.
You're not recognized, Councilmember Ellis. We'll go to Councilmember Coopin.
Thank you, Chair, and I appreciate the direction the sponsor is heading in. I feel deeply the abandoned vehicle challenge and roadway challenges. I'm a little bit confused. So I share the arguments that are being made about the concern about CDL drivers and school bus drivers. And, if I'm moving into my new home or my new apartment and I've got a U-Haul and I've rented the U-Haul for 24 hours because I just moved from out of state, am I getting ticketed because I've left it parked overnight because I'm returning it the next morning? But this is a modification of the abandoned vehicles section, and in the code currently, an abandoned vehicle is a vehicle that is left unattended on public property for more than 10 days, or a vehicle that is in obvious state of disrepair and left unattended on public property for more than 3 days. So to me, I guess if this bill said that, I would be much more supportive of it, because if you've got a box truck or a U-Haul or something, you just left it there, it needs to be addressed. But I'm confused as to why an abandoned vehicle section is now limiting to 2 hours.
So this is a question that I had about this, because the caption reads abandoned vehicle, but I didn't actually see where we were touching the abandoned vehicle section here. This is the parking section. So I'll go to lead sponsor, Councilmember Ellis.
Sure, thank you. And so I just want to be clear. This bill is intended for residents that have been in Nashville for multiple years. Like I am working to help those people stay, right? And so the point with it going from 10 days down to, I think it's the 48-hour window, is because unfortunately in my district, criminals tend to drop off stolen vehicles on dead-end roads. And if they're not there longer, if they're there for more than 2 days, I start to get phone calls from residents that are worried, about the car on the road. And so that's, again, an issue that was brought to me by one of the NDOT inspectors based on the complaints that they receive from Hub Nashville asking for this change.
Thank you, Councilmember. Well, I think where I'm at with this, I think there might be some bigger questions that I need to look at, but personally, I can't vote to support this with the 8,800 in there, so I think it will need a deferral of some kind. Councilmember Benedict.
Thank you, Chair, and sorry to interrupt you there. So I like to make law that solves a problem. And what I'm hearing as we debate this and as I read the bill is that what's trying to be accomplished here, NDOT already has the tools and resources available to do this. There's a street in the district that I represent that is narrow, and it's in a commercial center area, and people park on both sides of the street, oftentimes blocking driveways. NDOT and I work together to say no parking to corner, and they put in a sign. NDOT and I work together, and they put no parking on one side of the street. And that solved the problem for the neighbors for the most part. Now, we also have enforcement that's taking place both by NDOT and by MNPD for the occasional time that there's a problem. So I just think that we're taking a machete where we already have tools in the box to take care of this. And so I'm supportive of a deferral, but I also am just, questioning, is this necessary? Because again, focusing on solving problems, I know these are problems, but I agree that these are problems, there's no doubt. But there's tools that are available for us to solve them in NDOT's wheelhouse already. So I'm just not sure that we need to pass legislation when there's already options.
Does anybody who has not spoken yet seek to be recognized? All right, we'll go again to Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you.
Folks, I'm sorry, Councilmember, just we're 15 minutes over time, and we still have another item to get to, so just please be cognizant of that, members.
So I just want to be clear that I wouldn't have brought about this this bill if the NDOT compliance inspector hadn't come to me and asked me to make these changes because he's unable to resolve complaints that he's received and some of his colleagues there as well. So this is a problem, in my view, as I'm being led to believe, countywide.
Thank you, Councilmember. I'm going to move a two-meeting deferral. All right, any discussion on a two-meeting deferral? Seeing none, all those in favor of a two-meeting deferral, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, any not voting? All right, recommended two-meeting deferral, 11 in favor, 1 against, and 0 not voting. All right, last we have committee item 16. This is BL 2025-957 by Parker, Hill, Welsh, and Allen, an ordinance amending subsections 13.32.165.a and 13.32.165.d.1 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to modify language authorizing approval of revisions to the Sidewalk Cafe dining rules and regulations by resolution of the Metropolitan Council and to add language regarding compliance with guidelines as part of the Sidewalk Cafe dining permit process. Can we get a motion and a second, please? All right, properly moved and seconded. I pulled this, I'm the lead sponsor, but I wanted to ask NDOT if they could just give us an explanation of what this legislation does and what folks who are either enrolled in this program can expect to change based on this, or folks that are maybe going to look at taking part in this program in the future. Mr. Purvis, you've already introduced yourself twice, so you're recognized now.
Thank you, Chair. My understanding of the legislation here, and I will say most of this, the legislation itself was actually led by our partners over at MDHA in regards to the Second Avenue redesign and everything going down there. My understanding is that this, by and large, allows for specific areas of town, or not, it allows for any area of town to designate specific guidelines to govern their street parking or sidewalk cafe parking and program unique and above and beyond what is already required by our regulations. So whether it's the way they want it to look or the materials they want it to use, it allows for that flexibility for individual programs in individual parts of town to be set. Obviously, for this example, it was tailored to meet what Second Avenue would like to do, but it also keeps it open-ended for other parts of town to do similarly.
Thank you. And just to clarify, this is sidewalk only. This is not the
That is
parking
correct. That's
areas.
my fault.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Any discussion on this? Further comments, questions, anything? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, recommend approval, 12 in favor, 0 against. Briefly, I have an update. We've got, spurring from some discussion at the Traffic and Parking Commission, we are holding a joint meeting of this committee, the Traffic and Parking Commission, the Bike Pedestrian Advisory Commission, and the Vision Zero Advisory Committee. I think I got all of those committee versus commissions correct. But that meeting is going to be next Monday in this chamber at 4:00 p.m. and committee members are encouraged to attend. I think we're going to have some really good discussion. NDOT's going to be present to talk with us sort of just about the roles and responsibilities of the different entities and how they work together and with NDOT and how we can maybe make some improvements moving forward. So it's going to be a very important conversation here in this chamber next Monday, August 25th at 4:00. And apologize for going 20 minutes over time, but that'll conclude our meeting today. Thanks.